The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kids traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
All right, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning. Thank you for being up with me this early in the morning at 6:30 a.m. You know, as I began the day today, um, there are things happening around the world that, if you were to have said this last year, last August, could you have seen, would you be able to see us like this, and this? And last August, that response would have been, no, I don't see that. I can't see that. That's not going to happen. I doubt that that's going to happen. And now, as I stated yesterday, there was on a Sabby Sabs. I just got the text regarding a broadcast that was done with the lieutenant or a retired colonel Wilkerson regarding Navy personnel jumping ship. Actually jumping ship, not just one or two claims and things of that nature, but a couple of different claims as desperate U.S. sailors trying to jump ship overboard. And, you know, again, I say there is a difference that a day makes because when you see how this is going, you're starting to see that, well, what's being said is obviously not true. And now you have a crisis. Deserters are worse than felons. I don't know if you're catching what's going on. These folks did not desert. These folks, no, there's a little bit more of a psychological factor that's there, especially if you are on a ship. And that's real easy to say, you know, because again, I don't know if, and I know that some of our people troll on in here. I get it. But I want us to be pretty sensitive about this because in your standard deployment, it's about a 6-month deployment. Okay. I'll just ban the user and delete that. I don't have time for that this morning. Then that's fine. Because at the end of the day, this is some very serious business because again, these are the folks that have signed up and their feelings of righteous pursuit to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And when they left on their deployment, the war in Iran hadn't started. And you also have to realize the dynamics of the military, the US military, is that there's usually a couple of other countries that will help to offset different things. Because, yes, It is all about mental health, esprit de corps, troop morale. I understood that having deployed, having a team under me. You have to be mindful of how people are feeling, what's going on with their families, and things of that nature. And I know that it's probably real easy, for folks that have never gone through this and probably never deployed, because you only have about 1% of the US population that have actually ever served, less than 1%, especially being overseas, especially being in areas that are being actively bombed. Imagine sleeping through that at night. Missiles flying overhead and things of that nature. You wake up, oh, that got bombed. Oh, okay. You need to go and check it out. Oh, okay. And when you are mentally and physically and emotionally drained, yeah, you can say, oh, spiritually, I okay, I get it. All right, I got it. And I say that it's easier said for folks that more or less probably have never participated in the military, because again, there's no help. They've only had two port calls. Do you know what that means? You're stuck every single day. You don't know, because you're not just there, you're doing drills. You're working day in, day out. You're doing watches. They're not the only vessel out there on the sea. So they're getting their types of intel reporting of different dhows and other frigates and other potential, more than likely classified information of other ships that have probably been retrofitted with other non conventional weapons that may try to fire. On top of that, you may have, and they've been fired on a couple of different times. They just haven't reported it. You'll see one like type of, just a little blank report, or little scroll, one time report, and that's what they do. One time report. Hey, we notified the public, and then they'll pressure even these international companies. You better not run that story again. You only got one chance. If not, we're going to do some diplomatic wrangling, and that wrangling does involve, we'll cut off money. Oh, please do not cut off money. So they'll allow that to go in these spaces, because that's just how that goes. The information space, this space right here, this internet right here, this is an actual battlefield. I don't know if you all realize this. Information space is a battle. Why do you think that you hear Trump saying, oh, everything's good, everything's fine, everything's this? That is a mentality. That's a war. We just don't know that wars are fought at much different levels. Information warfare, psychological warfare. And what these folks are going through is psychological warfare. Because what Iran is doing right now, give me a one if Iran is winning, give me a two if Iran is losing. I like to find out just kind of your opinions. I like to find out where we're on at, because honestly, I don't know how most of our people are seeing this, even when they see things that's in front of their faces. Okay, well, there's a overwhelming majority of folks saying that that Iran is winning, and Iran is winning. We only have one, two that says Iran is not winning. Okay, but I would have to contend that Iran is winning, and Iran is winning simply because they're making all sorts of what would be once egregious, unheard of, totally uncouth. All of the barbaric, all of the adjectives that would decry that any type of strength or position that the U.S. has is unconscionable, unfathomable. Well, Trump said that the Strait of Hormuz is open. Okay, it's not, and they literally declared it. Now, is it open for some vessels? Absolutely. It's going to be open for China and Chinese vessels. So, what is now happening is China has become the de facto guarantor of vessels. You want to go, you got to go through China, and China will pay in yuan, and that's just how that goes. Do you see how the US dollar is getting cut out? It's getting cut out militarily. And now, when you don't know what to do, Trump said this. Oh, we're just going to slow walk this. We're going to kind of, play things by ear. You want to know what that means? They have no idea how to respond. That's actually what came out of Trump's mouth this last week, less than 7 days ago. And we have to be mindful of how they're reporting because they're telling you what it is that they can and cannot do, and they're actually signaling what other options they'll have to resort to. They'll have to resort to other options. And now they'll have to make a case. Oh, well, Iran is doing all sorts of terrorist activities. They're going to be terrorists, terrorizing terrorists, which means, in my mind, because to get optimal impact and effect, there has to be children involved. There has to be a a communal space occupied, i.e., kids have to be in school, i.e., that's why September 11th happened September 11th. Most of the nation was back in classes by that time, right after Labor Day. Happenstance, when you look at the forecast of oil, you start to see that they are trying to say, there's about weeks. Now it's a little under 298.7 million, supposedly, because now there's going to be a tremendous impact. Do you stay the same, or do you now have to raise the price of oil? And I would argue in this really flimsy economy, you can't raise the price of oil. Not even a little bit. It has to go to the taps because any bit of discomfort and more pain, there's a pain tolerance threshold. This is what these psychologists are doing. This is what these uh, analysts are seeing, because it's a psychological. What are the sociological and psychological impacts? How do people reconcile this? No, people get to a breaking point, even when it's not necessarily about defending this nation. It's also about people get to a breaking point where there's no money and funds coming in, that they'll start to lash out and act out and do things. They'll start to jump from various places, and they could end up harming other people in their last act and being alive. So when I hear people come on in there and, you can act the fool if you want to, but I'm just going to block you, because it is that serious. Because you may trivialize it, but you may end up having that impact you. That's just how the Most High works. He doesn't play games. Before I get going in this, I want to have a praise report on behalf of one of our sisters within the community. She does a lot. She's very underspoken. I'm not going to share her name, just in a matter of privacy. So, those in the chat, I would ask that you refrain from sharing her name also, because it's a matter of privacy. But earlier, our sister had been diagnosed, or there was a diagnosis of potential cancerous cells that needed to be removed. And she had surgery last week, last Thursday, to be exact, this time last week. And the surgery was successful. And she had been recovering. And she was back volunteering with QTUA and doing some things in the background. And she had a praise report. And I said, okay, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and share it. Well, upon the test of the, I would say the cells that were, abnormal and things of that nature, it was found that they were not cancerous. But it was still good to have that procedure done. And these are life-threatening procedures. But the Wednesday after last the 5th, we prayed regarding her health and those of others in the group. And it's awesome to hear and to see how the Most High has been working for his people. He always does. But to see him move for his people in this extraordinary manner, that's a blessing. So I tell folks, don't think that, yeah, we come here, we have a good time. Look, the joy of Yahuwah is our strength. I don't know if you all realize that. The joy of Yahuwah is our strength. When we go, because we're all going through this. Every one of us. You may have a different struggle, you may have a different trial, you may have a different circumstance, but y'all's moving. And when you call on Yahusha, you're going to be saved. You're going to have healing. When you are joy and you have joy about it, not trying to fake the funk. Look, the Most High see, He knows, He comforts. And I'm not saying that just these aren't empty words. These are the testimonies to see and hear and receive a great report, because that's how our Father moves. So when I see and look at that and understand that, you know, one of the things that we have to do is that we have to help one another as we're struggling. My help is I can pray for you, but it's not just I can pray for you. Listen, I'm not going to say that I know everything, but I know I, I I'm glad that Yahuwah has put me in this position to call upon Yahushua Hamashiach, because we're calling on His name through all this, with Brother Asaph and his story, with a lot of our other brothers and sisters that have been healed. And I'm not trying to do this and play the organ and say, oh, if you just hold on to Yah's unchanging hand and provide a offering, because will a man rob God? None of that. None of that. But I want us to truly understand, look, the Most High is moving in an extraordinary hour. And He's doing things amongst His people. Yeah, we have to be, we have to have a little bit of a carrot dangled over us. Because if we get too comfortable, even me, we get too comfortable, my belly is full and this and that. No, He's got to keep us a little hungry. Can't get too satiated. David couldn't get too comfortable. You realize that David had some trials. He couldn't get too comfortable. And in the land of our captivity, we can't afford to be comfortable. Not here, not now. Because now we're starting to see that we've been prepared for this. Who are you going to call on? I'm going to call on Yah. That's the only thing I can call on. That is the only one I can call on. That's it. I can't say anything else. I can't do anything else. That's it. I call on Yahushua HaMashiach, because without going through Him, my petitions can't be heard. And as I had stated this, we're going through these trials. Yes, we all are going through trials. Group activity. Look, trials are different. There are some folks that have resources, but they may have a trial there. There are some folks that that don't have resources, but they're going through a trial there. There's different dimensions to this. Because I do have to say, when everything is getting dark and darker, the Most High's giving us hope. And a lot of these people don't see the hope. They're feeling hopeless. So that's why they're trying to jump to their deaths and their demise. And there's nothing this is not to be taken in like, oh, they're weak minded, they're this, they're that. Well, I'm glad you know Yahuwah. I'm glad you know Yahusha. But I'm going to tell you this. Look, you want to judge them, you're going to be judged. You're going to be found out. and it's not going to be very fun. I say this because I love our people. So I want our people to be able to know and to understand how good the Most High is. And that's their learning, that's their understanding. All I can do is just point it out to them. That's it. That's my job. And I try to do it Monday through Thursday. Now, also, my job is to report. I'm trying to show our people what's happening, how things are happening, why things are happening, and potentially when we should be seeing this on the horizon. Because again, when there are things being said and reported, that means that they are setting the conditions. There is something that's always called the road to war. You got to set the conditions. Road to war. Got to set the conditions. What are we seeing right now? Desperate U.S. sailors, not just one, a couple, trying to jump overboard on extended Middle East deployment. Families say concerns have been raised about conditions on board the USS Abraham Lincoln, with claims of food shortages and sailors' mental health struggles. Well, it's not just food shortages, it's actually relatively safety, right? Cleanliness conditions and standards. And when you only have a finite amount of things on these ships, you got to also understand that these ships aren't just out in the water by themselves. They're not. They have spotters. They're seeing how logistics are being done. They're looking at things in the water. Yeah, they may have some ships come through at night to try to link over and provide as much as they can. But guess what ends up happening? Those other ships, more than likely Iranian backed, Iranian proxied, they're going to go through and they're going to see, okay, how are these ships being supported? And then they're going to cut off their routes there on shore, on land. Non standard maritime vessels. They have dealt with this for years. Desperate sailors aboard USS Abraham Lincoln have tried to jump overboard during extended deployment in the Middle East. Their families say the aircraft carrier crewed by around five since November 21st. But more lately has been supporting U.S. military operations in the war with Iran. Well, if that's the case, then why are these folks, these are always those, oh, but don't worry, you cannot, you got to remember, these are propaganda pieces, okay? And I want you all to catch the propaganda comments. The deployment had been expected to end in May, but has extended with no current return date, families told the Military Times. So they don't know when they're going to get ready to return. So think about this. Iran is clearly capable that they could target the military vessels. The problem that they're going through is now they have to find out what is Trump getting ready to do. Yeah, my audio is breaking up. Please bear with me because Yeah. What's going on? Thank you for your patience. These websites are killing me in this in this live stream with their ads and stuff. I know they do that on purpose. So we covered the one yesterday. So these little inputs and things are going through. Just wanted to show you this. Loma added, this is from the yesterday that had been reported regarding her husband trying to jump ship. Loma added that she is trying to put on a happy face for her children, but she feels like she could break down every day because you don't know. You may get a paycheck, but you don't know about your family. What could be happening? I guess it's for those that know they know. Maria Rodriguez, another wife that's or says that her husband prevented another man from jumping overboard, told the Military Times her husband held the shipmate's arms and hauled them onto the deck with three other sailors eventually running to help. The Independent has contacted the U.S. Navy for comment. They're not going to say that. They're not going to say anything. Why is that? Because if it, let me break this on down for this, and I have to break it down because sometimes our people don't truly realize how this white supremacist model works. The model of vanity. In the word when it says, "Look, he's going to break the arms of Pharaoh. He's going to break the arms of these gods. He's going to bring Babylon low. He's going to bring the captors low. He's going to destroy their gods." Why is he doing that? It's not for the sake of these folks, okay? It's not for the sake of our oppressors. It's really for our sakes because we are in a very detrimental wash and repeat type of homage to white supremacy. That's what it is. And you have to understand their main goal and how they're able to say, hey, we're the best. Well, look at our military. Because their military is their gods. The god of arms, the god of forces. Cursed is the man that puts his faith in his own arm. I can do it by myself. I could never do anything by myself. I can't. Father, thank you because I know I can't do anything by myself. I look at circumstances and said, there is no way I can do this by myself. Thank you, Father, for your help. Thank you, Father, that I'm learning your patience. Thank you, Father. There is something even today as I'm speaking. I was waiting on something. I didn't get a call back immediately. I thought what I had stated was probably a little wonky. And I said, oh man, things are going to probably get messed up or this and that. And I said, thank you, Father. I'm waiting here because I can't do anything. So I have to trust on you. And thank you, Father, for favor because this is your thing, Father, that I'm executing. I got the email back 2 in the morning. I was not going to be up at 2 in the morning. I'm sorry. I'm not. The blessing was, Minister Rick, I didn't really have lengthy deployments like that. The most my deployment was 6 months. That was a blessing. It was just that the rate of travel to the Middle East was atrocious. In a 3 year span, I was gone over 1,100 days in a 3 year span. No, excuse me, not 1,100. It was 370 days in a 3 year span. It was over. That was quite a lot. And it took a toll. It took a toll on my kids' mental health. It took a toll on my marriage. That took a toll. Concerns were raised by family members during a town hall meeting last week with Acting Secretary of the Navy Hong Chow. One wife told Navy officials that her husband sent her a message saying that he hopes he doesn't wake up tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure they're probably just only able to send like probably either written or text messages. All of the other media stuff is more than likely very highly restrictive. Unless you're like a comms officer or you're working in the comms section. They have there's a commercial line they'll that they'll use. So but they tried not to use that commercial line because again, they it can be pinged, so they can triangulate on that, especially now that Iran has actually stated that they can start to they're using satellites, so that becomes a whole mess of concern. So it's and here's the thing: Iran has the capability to track the Navy, whether or not Iran will target the Navy. Because again, now, and you'll see this because I want to bring up this article because not many people are talking about this because this is just came on out like a couple hours ago. But Iran has time. The US doesn't. The outlet said it had spoken to multiple active duty sailors and their families who described exhaustion and low morale on board. Recordings of last Thursday's meeting, reviewed by MS Now, showed family members raising concerns over their loved ones' mental health, as well as worries over a lack of supplies, food shortages, water contamination, and safety on deck. Because you have to understand, they're trying to figure on out how bad are things back in the United States. How bad is it really here for us? They don't know. They don't know what's happening. They can say, you know what? I think that these folks are lying. I don't know if we can even ever return back to the United States. Who knows if I'm actually even talking to my spouse, my husband, my wife, my son, my daughter, my parents. Who knows if it's even AI? I mean, think about that. They want to push AI. Y'all don't know, but that's probably exactly what they're thinking in this Palantir driven military. Oh, it is Palantir driven. Don't get it twisted. I was coming out as it was really starting to lurk in. And they had some tools that even if I were to tell you about it, I would be in prison for a while. Smashing up some rocks on Fort Leavenworth on Route 7. No, thank you. Route 7 is over in Kansas. Used to drive by there every single day, or not every single day. It was about once a month when I go to the commissary. Get some meats that were real cheap. Good quality, real cheap. Because those beef ribs, man, they could not be beat. Used to make some beef brisket all the time. Oh man, all right, I need to stop. No, they get it literally straight from the slaughterhouse. I don't know if they can do that anymore nowadays. That meat has to go to other places like China. Look, they'll still sell to their enemies because they're that brazen. Because that's a what? That's a what did the Most High call it? It's a horror spirit. You'll still sell yourself out, even as they're actively destroying you. Why? Because that's a horror spirit. That's crazy. The Most High, the word says it. Low and slow. Get that. Get them charcoals on out there. Burn those coals low. Sit on out there for, look, top rack for at least a few hours. At least a few hours. Look, sometimes, some days I'll be, you know, 9, 10 hours. It just depends. Depends on how much I'm cooking. Here's this. Just getting out of the Navy, I can say them extended deployments took a toll on the crew. The extended deployments that come out of the blue started during the pandemic. Exactly, and those tolls, it hurts, and it's a lot of our people. Look, they're because again, you're on the ship. You don't know what the world is looking like. You don't know what you had. Well, go ahead, brother Eric. Go ahead. Well, when I'm back in the land, most high willing, I cannot wait. Said the rats on board will be the meat. Oh my goodness. Isn't that funny how there's always a rat or two on those ships? Like I don't know how that gets there. Ugh. So it does take the toll. People don't know until they live through that. They just get on a ship and you can even understand it. Be deployed and you can even tell, man, if this wasn't there or if that happened here, or your mind starts to spin on the vulnerabilities that you have. And people don't know their vulnerabilities until they actually are in that spot to where, oh snap, look, you're already there on board a ship, and I'm going to tell you this: a ship catches fire on over there in the Middle East. Forget all that maritime law, maritime safety. They're going nowhere near you. Oh yeah, these fools thought it was funny to blow up innocent sailors from Ecuador and Colombia over in Venezuela. They're not going to go anywhere near to help on out that ship. If anything, a lot of those other ships they do have their little weapons and small arms. They may start firing on them to keep them away from their ship. Because why? Because then, think about it, then they'll start to execute piracy operations. Hey, we got to commandeer their vehicle, their dhow. No, thank you. Don't think like us, think like them. And that's the reality. We've been taught and conditioned to think a certain sort of way. Well, we could just go there. No, they're looking at it as no, as soon as their ship goes down, they're going to be trying to scurry like rats, and then they're going to try to take over, and that's going to leave us vulnerable. We could die. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see that that's happening. Again, I try to warn our people. Living in reality is hard. It's a hard reality. These are tough truths. Yeah, they've been way too long to sea, but where can they go to shore at? They really can't go up the Suez. They can't go through the Bab al Mandeb. Houthi shut that down. You realize they cannot go through the Bab al Mandeb, which means the access to the Red Sea is done. And there would be nothing greater that the Houthis would love to do than to target a ship. Remember, the Ford got caught on fire. They didn't want to say that it was the Houthis because, again, if the Houthis saw that, man, that will rile them up. Oh, you saw that work? Yeah, we put that. Look, the Houthis are some Arabs on thug life. Houthis about that life. Don't even play. Look, it ain't just one. It's all of them. Man, I want to shoot you so bad. I said, dang, did the Houthis just get raised up on some sort of Arabic version of New Jack City? They must have gotten a hold of some Arabic version of Boys in the Hood. South Central. We want to be like the black Americans. We do not take no stuff. They are about their life. That's oh my, oh my, oh my. So now they're placating. We hear you loud and clear, and the impact on the family, and the yada yada yada. Saying that everything is false. They said that in April, and it all turned out to be true. The problem is, again, they can't trust their leadership. And of course, you don't want to say anything. And now they're saying that they're going to go to a new home port in Bremerton, Washington. Why are they going to go up to Bremerton, Washington? Because they're not trying to bring them to San Diego to then tell them, hey, this was horror. This is horrible. Navy officials told families that a 58-day window will be provided for them to move once the aircraft carrier returns. Try to get them preoccupied. Do you see how that? Hey, we're gonna have you do the same shuffle that your husbands and wives are doing on the ship. You can't make this stuff up. Yeah, a lot of people don't know the Navy is really big on the pecking order. You have your what do they have? They have their commanders, their mess, which is their like their lunch or their eating time. So they have like their commanders mess, then they have their chiefs mess, and then petty officers and below they have their mess. So it's like their see so like their staff or company grade we would say. Then it would be the senior enlisted grade, and then it would be their junior enlisted grade. And by the time right it all rolls downhill, you know, you're left with the scraps. That's just how that goes. It's the same thing that they do in the Marine Corps. Actually, I think yeah, the captain's mess. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Captain's mess, officer's mess, chief's mess, enlisted mess. Yeah, it's always last. Yep. Marine Corps is a little different. They no, it's usually in that from my experience, it's enlisted first because you have to really depend on the men. I mean, and that's how that goes. The men and women, to be politically accurate. So yeah, so this is a very it's very interesting. I wanna kind of shift gears to this because this is the so you have the military impact, but the military impact always provides a it's an impact on the economy. Iran US war latest. Tehran rejects Trump's claim of total control over Hormuz as traffic nears 3 month low. So now they're just openly defying Trump's lies, and countering Trump's lies. And that doesn't bode very well because people get scared. Oh, well, they're not playing the game. See, you have to understand the way that this world worked and works. It was that people had to play this game. How come these other nations didn't speak out on slavery and the conditions that black people were facing? Well, because of course they were being threatened. Say something and that's going to happen to you. Say something and that's going to be your fate in your own country. Because trust me, we'll find people that will sell themselves out. Trump argued the Iranian Navy has been destroyed and they cannot enforce the closure of the strait. Well, he argues that, but the reality says different. This is by James C. Reynolds and Ashweta Sharma from Independent, UK. Iran has again rejected Donald Trump's claims that the U.S. has total control over the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's Persian Gulf Strait Authority. What happened to the Arabian Gulf. They said, bump that mess. We're taking our name back. Just like the Gulf of Mexico, now the Gulf of America. Get out of here. It's total nonsense. Iran's Persian Gulf Strait Authority said the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked and it will not be open until Iran's conditions are accepted. Basically, Trump either has to pay or they're going to have it blocked until 2029. Get ready for a three year long hold. That's not going to happen. What will end up happening is there will obviously a supply constraint. So I hate to say this because again that this doesn't affect me. That affects everybody. When I tell people, yeah, these wars get orchestrated and they get orchestrated for a reason. Population reduction provides, or what they think provides, supply stabilization. If we cannot afford to feed people, then we go to war. Remember, that was the excuse that they were always trying to say in World War II. Well, the Russians had to go to war with the Germans because the Germans were starving, right? Everybody, it is all of that stuff. I would actually argue the United States had to go to war because the start of World War III, or excuse me, World War II was regarding the U.S. not being able to have the economic wherewithal to challenge anything. And that gave Europe the excuse to get the U.S. involved because, well, if you're poor and you ain't got no funds, you ain't got no money, you're going to start fighting. Well, we might as well have you fight here. And I believe that too. Second as just put, a draft is coming. A draft is coming. I hate to see what those draft MREs will look like. A slice of bread in some sort of a spam type of design. You don't get no beef anymore. You don't get no cow. You don't even get chicken. It's ham. Now I'm gonna tell you this. I won't eat that. I'd have to tell him you got to look. I'll have to find something. I don't care if I have to eat seaweed. I'm gonna have to find something. Well, Minister Rick says, isn't this war to defend the real basis of our power, which is not the military, but the petrodollar? It is, but I'm going to tell you that the petrodollar has kind of been destroyed. It's been destroyed. It's the way that the petrodollar was and had worked. Even as they were trying to do things with the petrodollar, Iran's closure on the Strait of Hormuz and now with the Houthis and the Red Sea. You don't have the liquidity, literally the liquidity of oil, the transportability of oil. And when they say, "Oh, they're going to do pipelines," how long did that story last? with the pipelines. Does anybody know how long that story? They talked about the pipelines for not even a day. And then they said, scrub that pipeline story because when people start to analyze that pipeline story, that mess makes zero sense. And that's exactly what they did. They scrubbed the pipeline story. Real time. I kid you not. Iran's Persian Gulf Strait Authority said the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked and it will not be open until Iran's conditions are accepted. They said, listen, take it or leave it. Look, Iran's got all the cards. The successive claims and tweets by American officials about lifting the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz do not change reality. They said you're not even living in reality. It's make believe. Trump earlier said that praise be to Allah, Washington has total control of the Strait of Hormuz, adding, "I think we will keep it." Amid their conflicting claims, data from the trade intelligence Kepler showed shipping traffic through Strait of Hormuz was a 3-month low. Just 13 vessels transited the waterway on Tuesday, around 90% below the daily average of 130 days before the U.S. and Israel in Eastern Mediterranean nation attacked Iran on 28 February. Tehran has effectively closed the strait under threat of military action since the U.S. and that Eastern Mediterranean nation attacked in February. Iran and Oman have recently been discussing a mechanism to reopen it under their management in a move that would hand even more leverage to Iran with U.S. talks to end the war still on ice. They're not doing anything. They've got nothing. And now they don't really even have veracity of reporting, especially with all of these different um, with the oil, the Brent forecast. Look, they're trying to artificially. The reason is you got to understand, if they're lying to the public, they're also lying to these other nations. Hey, we're gonna get this. Hey, we're gonna do that. Hey, just trust us. This is Trust Us Records. This is Trust Us Records, and Iran is the real gusto. Iran them broke out of Cell Block D, and they're coming for their stuff. Stop lying. They got the Houthis as Gusto's partner that has to talk to the microphone. Oh, I'm alluding to Chris Rock's movie back in the day, D14, straight out of Low Cash. That was the song on it. I think it was it was D14 the movie if I'm not mistaken. But it was some black kids from the suburbs that wanted to be gangster rappers and oh, it was a pretty funny parody. CB4, yeah, thank you. CB4, yes. Cell block 4, yeah. Coming straight out of low cash. Well, the Persians are on the move, that's for sure. But what another and I don't know if this is going to have any type of reporting to this because there was an Iranian um some sort of an Iranian chief. I don't even really know what the his name or title or whomever whatever. They were suggesting that the US may start to use nuclear weapons. And if the US uses nuclear weapons, that there would be a seizure of bases worldwide. And yeah, and this came on out. It still came on out like a couple minutes ago. And I think, man, they really are trying to scrub this story because I'm here in the background trying to get a hold of it. Times of India and and First Post are reporting this. And there's not really much, veracity of reporting. So, a lot of stuff it's whenever they make these types of claims, it it scrubs through. People don't want to report. And excuse me. And the reality is they're not really allowed to report like this. So it becomes very interesting. But I'm just going to there's a little bit of an overview. The First Post, and Times of India have reported that Iran is threatening to turn um, time into a nuclear weapon, and that what that will end up doing, according to what First Post had been reporting, and this is a little less than. Let me see if I can access this story. It's coming through on Facebook. So I'm going to share this tab. I'm not gonna play much of it. I think I only get about like a couple second threshold. So just gonna play the first few seconds, and you all will be able to kind of see. I'll put the Facebook reel in here. Let me do this.
Commander has issued a stark warning to the United States, threatening that American military bases worldwide could be targeted or seized if Washington ever uses nuclear weapons against Iran.
Okay, so I'm just going to give you that little bit of a that tidbit, because again, and again, that's fair use. Fair use. This is from Times of India reporting what this IRGC commander is saying. They are waiting for a U.S. nuclear response. You know, when it says that this place is like broken without hands, right? And I laugh because it's like, man, we've read this constantly. Jeremiah 50 and 51, uh, Isaiah chapter 47, Obadiah. These scriptures have made it plain how this place was going to fall, because again, it yes, or are you going to see warfare? Yes, you are. But the reality is, America had been so dependent on others that it really it forgot to learn how to feed itself. And that was the conditions of slavery. Well, you know what? I can just it'll never me. I can just do this and do that to anybody that I feel like. Why? Because I'm the man. They can get as mad as they want to, but I'm the man. And actually, and yes, they do. They always try to say, "Oh, they're going to develop." No, I believe, just my personal opinion, they do more than likely have the capabilities to do that. Whether or not they're going to confirm that, it's basically like, hey, we already have the capabilities of doing it, but you know, we're we're looking to see if we're still going to do that option. But we have the capabilities of doing it. But we may not do it, but we have the capabilities of doing it. But we may not do it. It's semantics. And those semantics are now they're backfiring in a very interesting way. And as we are really continuing to move things a lot along. Well, yeah, Putin. Look, it is a dare. Look, I dare you to do it, but you also understand that the moment that a nuclear or even a tactical, it doesn't even matter. They could do a nuclear tactical. They'll just say, "Well, it's a tactical nuke." They don't want to say nuclear because what are they doing? What have they done to even get to this point? There's now a point of desensitization. Is American public ready for, what's the tolerability rate? What's the threshold? Well, we got to get the threshold over, 33%, over 40%. There's a threshold rate. How long will there be backlash? Well, we're anticipating backlash to last for about 2 weeks, and then things should go back to normal. right? These are the calculus. This is a calculus that they have. This is part of their decision making process. There are decision making processes to everything. How do they make decisions? Well, we make decisions based off of this. We called it back in the day MDMP, military decision making process. And what did you have? You had a list of all the things that you needed to have to be able to come up to formulate the decision. If this happens, then that happens. If that happens, then this happens. With this, we use that. This amount of forces use this. This will take that, right? Because you would always outweigh the pros and the cons within the MDMP, the military decision making process. Then you would have the intelligence. What does the intelligence say? What opposition run into, right? So you have the offense, and then the intel would be what is our, what does the defense look like? What do the red actors or the enemy opposition? How does that look? What are the most likely courses of action? What's the most dangerous courses of action? Well, the enemy will probably think like this because of these conditions that they will be exposed to. Well, I mean, there's always a strategic value in hitting the U.S. Like, don't get it twisted. Minister Rick says if they see no strategic value in hitting America, they won't do it. Don't get it twisted. There's a strategic value because it was also in there. They also have a military decision making process. You know, if the it's like this. Why do people go to war against other nations, other states? Because they step outside their boundaries and, you know, they always say, hey, if you don't rein in your activities, right? Isn't that what they always say? If you do not control your leader, then we will be forced to act. Isn't this the same? It's funny because I laughed earlier this year, January 3rd, and it wasn't funny, but it was, hey, this is the same type of measure that we're going to utilize because, you had Maduro, a leader that was totally out of control, so we had to go through and remove him from power. Because why? Because your government was not able to do so. Do you see how this is starting to shape up? I'm just giving you the context here. Hey, America, we're telling you, we're giving you this time. We're giving you until, either the midterms. We're giving you until 2029. Because why? Because all Trump can do is just have his ships out there in the Arabian Sea just loitering and going in circles. That's literally what the ship is doing. It's just going in circles. Have a bearing for this course. 3 degrees starboard. They're burning fuel. They're running through resources. So if you are a power hungry megalomaniac, you are not just going to sit there and admit defeat. Not at all. In your calculus as a power hungry megalomaniac, well, we're going to get them to the table, and the way to get them to the table is we got to drop this burner on them. And Iran is saying, try it. We're expecting it. Do you see that? Iran is expecting it because why? Because the U.S. will not have a choice. And I know that look, there is still a lot of disconnect in reality for our people. Still, there's a lot of disconnect. Why are we even fighting in Iran to begin with? Uh, 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 because the disconnect was, well, never America will never go to war with Iran. Do y'all remember that was the disconnect? January and February, I was talking about this. Sometimes I just say, Father, I just kind of scare myself sometimes because we see it. We've been talking about this. We've just been discussing it. And remember, at least in that time, I said, yeah, it's going to probably be pretty soon. Matter of fact, I thought, in my opinion, remember back in February, I said they probably won't strike until about March 13th. That was my thought process. I said, yeah, it'll probably be around March 13th. They struck that very next day. That was that Thursday the 27th. They struck February 28th. If Iran is saying this, then obviously they know they're getting sources, they're getting understanding, because let's just face it, look, their sources are coming from Russia and China. If you didn't know and you didn't remember, Russia and China were still trying to evacuate their people from out of Tehran when Tehran came under attack. So, what do you think that did for those countries? I'm sure that it was probably, if you target anything anywhere near, and this is what they do. They'll get past targeting operations from the State Department through the diplomatic channels. Hey, our people are going to be held up here. If you target them, we're going to declare that as an act of war. Since you did not allow us to get out. If you notice, they did not target the Iranian airport. But what happened, obviously, they had a NOTAMs, notice to airmen, and then people were able to leave and evacuate. And so, if Iran is already recognizing that they're going to have to use a nuke, all of these of how great the economy is, things of that nature. Look, I'm going to tell you this: we all know how they can move things into other folks. It's not us that have to be comfortable. We're here. We're all not comfortable. It's not us that have to struggle with negative $25 in the bank account. We're used to that. They're not. And now that the strait is firmly, and yes, I said it, firmly under the control of the Iranian authorities, All they have to do now is just wait it on out. It's a waiting game. That's why I had the little, the clocks and everything else. Those little sand timers. These are the waiting games. The hourglass. They're just waiting. Because why? Because they can wait out the U.S. Iran is built to wait out the U.S. The U.S. is not built to wait out Iran. It's not. It's not built to starve. You literally see that in what? Revelations chapter 17 and 18. They're not going to see the loss of their children. Babylon's not going to see the loss. Well, I guess my kids are going to starve. That's not how that works. Not in Babylon. No, we're going to go fight. Come on, we're going to go fight. And we're going to have black people fighting first. Come on, black folks. You all go on in there. Huh? We promise if you fight first, we're going to pay you your reparations. See, look. We were about to pay you your reparations, but we can't do that because Iran's asking for your reparations. You all think I'm lying. African Americans, see, my staff and I, we were already looking at paying you all reparations. But we had to get rid of other people that were black. They looked black, but they had accents that were not black, that were children of slaves, black. And we had to get rid of them first before we could send you all reparations. But that plan blew up because just as I was getting ready to sign the executive order for reparations, your reparations, black Americans, then here comes Iran. Yes, Iran. They want to take away your beautiful reparations. Oh, it's such a beautiful, lovely reparations executive order. I mean, you would have had money. You all like money. Yeah, I like it too. But I say this, that in order for you all to receive your well due reparations, well, Iran wants your reparations. So what are we going to do about it? I swear I'm not Trump's speechwriter. uh, I want to make a deal above all deals. I call it the Big Beautiful Reparations Deal, BRD. Uh, you fight against them Iranians. They say that they closed the strait. That's not true. They don't have the strait closed. We have it open. We're doing business. Because with BRD, African Americans, you're giving Iran the bird to get your reparations. I'm going to even bring back Omarosa for the reparations distribution task force. Yes, Omarosa, and maybe the Kwame guy from season 2 of The Apprentice. Uh, That's hilarious. That's hilarious. The big, beautiful reparations deal where our Caucasian, our Caucasian Americans, where I call true Americans, they'll even be happy about it. They'll say, "Oh, Mr. Trump, that was such a great, wise, and very good thing to do. That is how we can help our African Americans." Mr. Rick.
I just got a question for you. Were
Yeah.
we that arrogant and had that much hubris when the Most High judged us after
Of
He told us
course
what
we
to go
were.
through?
Of course we were, because we were showing off everything. This is what happened to us. Generations. This was the curse. Okay, you want to show that to them? Yeah, not only are you going to show that to them, but you're going to be then enslaved by them, or at least that spirit, that principality. That's how that's going. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We rebelled in AD 70 and got torn off as part of our judgment, came back again in 132 AD and did the same thing.
It did the same thing, yeah, and then totally got destroyed, totally got
Yep,
wiped on out. And remember, in that process with Adrian, during that process, they moved Jerusalem.
yep,
That was
yep.
the moving
That
of
was the fake
Jerusalem.
move. They wiped the place off. They said they erased our capital and then came back
Yep,
as in the Romans in the church age. Constantine, his mother, just started picking stuff and saying it's there that and redid it and set this whole mess that we're in now.
absolutely, absolutely. And now you're starting to see, and I know now a lot of people are starting to see what the Most High is doing. He's actually showing us what our ancestors did. He's showing us this. You can't make this up.
You know something? Even now, a lot of us are making our we're fixating on getting out, and getting out, which is good. You don't want to live in Babylon, but even then, it's kind of arrogant because the Most High said, "I'm not doing this for you." say, say you say you have profaned my name, which is His word, which is the Messiah. He's the Word of Yah made flesh. So it's really about I'm get because I said so, and I'm going to make you righteous. I'm going to sanctify you. But you're
Mm-hmm.
leaving because I said so. Because my word is, it's impossible for me to lie, and you're not about to make me a liar. So it's interesting. I mean, anyway, that's the Minister Rick take on it.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And whenever we see judgment pass, happening, there, I always have people like, look, refer back to Exodus, refer back to look. Let me just do this. I'm gonna do this. Refer back to Exodus chapter 1. Let me get this on up here. Hmm. Sorry, man, can this thing ever just? I hate these little Google suggestions and things of that nature. Always gets in the way, right? Exodus chapter 1, and I want to look at this. I'm going to start here at verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. there's always a level of ignorance, right? There's always a level of, you know, the understanding or the lack thereof of understanding. There was a generation of us that we did not know our forefathers. We did not know our lineage. We got cut off. Our ancestors in the first captivity, they knew who they were. In the second captivity, there was a second captivity. It wasn't a prolonged captivity, but it was. They also knew who they were. Judah was scattered for a little bit, but then they came right back to Jerusalem and rebuilt Jerusalem because that was the timeout corner. That was the 70-year timeout corner, for lack of better terms or better words. Hey, you still have your heritage. You still were able to retain things. Matter of fact, you even made more of a name because of the feats that you did in Babylon proper, and you're coming back home, which allowed for the Messiah to be born. And then in doing so, afterwards, that rejection, less than 100 years later, they were totally casted out. That's the reality of this. So right now, as we begin to see all of these different things,
Well, you think about Paul, he warned the Gentiles. He said, "Don't boast against the branches. You're a wild branch grafted in that has no place, but their fall is to your benefit. But don't boast up against the branches. That's the Most High. Do the same thing or worse to you."
hmm
They
I
didn't
want.
heed his words.
hmm let me go down to this, because when people try to act like, well, why is all this stuff going on with all these, white folks that try to, report on black people, to end their lives. Let me tell you this. There, all right. Pharaoh has always been the voice of the principality. The voice of the principality. Here it is. Exodus 1, verse 22. And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born ye shall cast into the river, and every daughter ye shall save alive. What does that sound like? That sounds like the same type of
Wipe out the bloodline.
the divide. Yeah, because they wanted to always dilute.
So
They
same
always wanted to get rid of the children of Yasharel.
same principality that said, "Throw them to the crocodiles in the Nile," tells them to throw them to the alligators in the bayou.
Mm-hmm. Alligator bait. It wasn't, as far as I know, it wasn't our daughters. That was mainly geared towards the sons.
In all likelihood.
What did I always say? Look, keep the Negro man dumb and docile. That was the whole situation. Keep the Negro man out of the household. You can save the women and you can save the children, but the Negro man's got to go.
That's how you literally how you ranch cattle. I told
Yes.
the story of a dairy farm that's in my family. One of our uh, nieces married a non-melanated person. They had the parents, and the patriarch of that farm. Uh, I was there, and the truck pulled up, and they selling off the calves. They said selling off the
Mm-hmm.
bull calves. He said, "Why are you selling?" I asked him, "Why are you selling off the bull calves?" He said, "Well, a cow could maybe be 900,000 pounds or something like that, and we can deal with the cows. We might keep one bull around for breeding at first, and then we use artificial insemination." He said, "But that bull calf is going to be 1,500 pounds and higher,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a locomotive, and he ain't gonna let you milk the cows."
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Yeah, because he's protective. There's a protective
yep, yep.
element.
He'd have the herd, and they'd stampede up out of there. He'd
Mm-hmm.
enforce the herd, and they stampede out there. But you can keep him if you castrate him and make him oxen. So
Mm-hmm.
what is our culture converge? They either delete you or make you promote oxen among
Mm.
our people. We got LGBTQ oxen men that are promoted in our society. So those traits that pertain to males, they try and destroy. And the cows and make the cows think they're running stuff, but the cows are not running anything there. They're just easier to manipulate. And that's he wants to keep a feminine energy that's highly emotional that they can manipulate. They don't want anybody running around like that man that got mad about deleting his progeny and took out a random policeman.
Mm. I'm just saying that's what the word says. Look, you can get mad at me because I'm seeing this, and this is the exact same things that we're looking at right now. Things have not changed.
Nope. There's nothing new under the sun. That's biblical.
Mm-hmm. Here's also Shalom, Sister Chantel, our UK correspondent. How are you faring in the weather? How is the weather? Is it hot or is it
I haven't been outside today. Apparently it's 36 degrees, which is I don't know, 90 something. Um,
a little
but
cooler? A little cooler?
yeah, I don't know. I haven't been outside yet. I'm kind of busy indoors at the moment. Um, I was going to go to IKEA because there's a couple of things I need to get, but I just like can't be bothered. But yeah,
She was gonna try and get them meatballs at IKEA. Stop playing.
Listen, don't knock them. Those are quite nice. The veggie ones. They're not eating the other ones because they mix pork in
Yeah, they
there. With
mix. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
the
Those fires still burning, sister?
I, I don't even know. They're not really reporting on it. There's so many things that just happen that crop up. You know how it is. It's like I wouldn't be surprised if it is because they're not actually they'll report it because they have to, and then after that they're not going to um continue or just update or what give you an update or whatever because I think it's shame. It's shame really because it's like they don't know how to deal with the fact that all of this is happening to them. There's no way these people do not know that this is happening to them. This is now becoming their reality, and it's like they always want to keep saying, climate change and everything, but along with everything else, it's like I was talking to a sister. I went to, what was it, on Tuesday, we went to this swimming pool, and I was talking to a sis there who was a nanny to, a little white girl, and oh, she's awake. I'm telling you, our people are awake. Our people are awake, and she was like, "Yes, it's on them now and everything," and she said it's funny how they forget. They don't want to talk about what they've done, and they don't want to, they don't want to realize that, she said at the end of the day, they can keep saying climate change, but the irony is, why is everything else happening to you? Why is
Mm-hmm.
everything bad seem to be happening to you? She's like, well, I've read Deuteronomy 28. I know that's our history. I know that's our book. And I know these people are going through. And it's funny because every time I come into contact and I'm talking to one of our people. And the first thing I'll just say to them is, we'll talk about, how they're going through some, traumatization from the sun. And it's like, I'll be like, oh, well, it's their judgment. And they're like, yeah, it is their judgment. I know it's their judgment. They're dealing with it. And the irony is that for centuries, they always put us down for, and I think it was Sister Gates Holder who said it perfectly. They're jealous of the fact that we can create something they can't, and that's
Mm-hmm.
our melanin. You know, because I was watching another video with them, like realizing, oh my gosh, there's a white dude that was basically saying, black people, how our skin doesn't, how we don't age and how we age backwards. Yeah, it's true. But in the comment section was a one of them, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be thing, but there's a there is only us sisters will recognize this, and any sister in the comment section will literally say, yeah, yeah, it's always the females. It's always the females. The hatred they have. This woman comes on saying, oh, this is stupidity. It's a psyop. It's this, it's that. Everybody's all a part of the one human race. There isn't this race and that race. I'm thinking, it's amazing how you all are saying that now. I basically said, you're just bitter because you're getting cooked
They are
and
the
filled
women
with
are the
wrinkles.
keepers of the culture. We have the daughters of the Confederacy here that drummed up stuff. Uh, all of our young women here got thinking that there's going to be a sisterhood that uh, they could ally with, that they were going to help everything, and they were going to. Hillary Clinton was going to come in, and this last candidate was coming because of the sisterhood. But the white women do not deny; they'll never turn against white supremacy on the whole.
No, they never will. They never will. There's a few of them, and it's a drop in the I'm not even gonna say bucket, but the ocean of the amount that do stand against it. But the vast majority of them are they love it so much. They
Well,
love
well,
it. They
I
love.
would, I would, I would argue, I would argue this. I would argue this. People go with the perennial winners until they're not winning anymore.
Mm,
When they're not winning anymore, then everybody decries that winner, right? Oh, they're always terrible. They were right all the time. If they right the moment that
yeah.
person that person or that system right is then exposed, well, they can't be exposed with it. Mark my words. Mark my words.
I
When they
agree
start
with
to
you,
Well,
but
see
well,
the,
well,
the
Karis,
drop
Karis,
in
I
support.
would say this that women, and they have a role. It's a good role as the preservers of culture. Our women,
Mm-hmm.
the culture we have been held on to. Usually, the archivist or the person in the family, is the preserver of the culture, has been the women. So these white
Mm-hmm.
women are just preserving their culture, which is to their benefit because for all the ones talking about the patriarchy and all this liberation stuff, hey, when the patriarch dies, they inherit it and they perpetuate it.
Well,
the
yeah,
fact of
and you
the
gotta
matter,
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the fact of the matter is, yeah, at this point, um, they can see that they're losing.
Mm-hmm.
They can see it, but I don't see the vast majority are going to go down with the ship. When I agree with you with a lot of things in terms of when your team's losing, people switch stuff. No, I agree with that, but not with this, because from what I see, these people, the vast majority of them are willing to die upholding this, the women included, because it's like I said before, it's kind of like the belief is so strong. If every day for 500 plus years your reality has been this,
Mm-hmm.
then it's kind of like telling somebody that, yeah, guess what, the sun's going to blow up tomorrow. People look at you like, what are you talking about? The sun's going to come up the same way as it does every day. What's to say the sun will not set on the British Empire? Well, it did. Now the sun is about to set on the American Empire and they can't handle it. Now it doesn't matter whether it's American, British, French, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's European. It's
Hmm.
Eden. And they cannot, there is no reality where they can conceive that this, whether it's, the
We
Greeks
got
or whoever, it's just going to transfer from one hand to another, but it still
You,
remains within them.
we got
That's how it is.
denigration. We got denigration. They
yes,
got flattery.
yes,
Flattery. So it's easy. We can throw off. No, that's not to throw off denigration, but flattery. It's easier to deceive someone than it is to convince them they have been deceived. So one
Yeah.
reason white supremacy is their ride and die because they were so flattered with this thing, and we're throwing a few crumbs from the ruling class. So they are. I agree. They're willing to go down to the ship. This is their ride or die because they believe, oh, it'll get back. It'll come back. We're going to go back to. They think they're going to go back to the normal, which their normal was our 400-year captivity, and it's not going to happen. So a lot of them. I agree with sister. Most of them going to go down with the ship.
Well,
let me
that's
let
why
me
they
let me let
sorry,
me
go on.
highlight let me highlight what Sister Chantel had stated because that was a very important um a very important piece there. Look, if it was something that that looked like another element of white supremacy through another country, right? It's just if it's just a transfer of white supremacy control, to another quote unquote European country or European enclave, right? Then it wouldn't. Then that's not a big deal, right? Okay, all right. Well, we're down, but we're not going to be out because it'll be kind of the same relationship that the U.S. has with the British, with
Mm.
right now, right? Okay, well they kind of see them as kind of sort of equals peers, but we all know the relationship and the dynamics on that one. So they would
It's
You're
think
like
right.
that that would take up
Alibaba.
the same way.
It's like
You're right
Alibaba
because
and his 40 Thieves.
the Dutch did that just here. The Dutch transferred it to the British without any
Hmm.
problem. So you're
Hmm.
right.
Yeah, because again, it's a continuation. We're still going to get paid. We may not as paid, right? But we still have a semblance of power because again, that's what they use and they wield over in parts of Africa, and that's now even lacking. Even as we're speaking, and the true extent of this this threat. We're not the threat. We've never been the threat. The threat is that what we have been saying has now culminated in other nations, right, that do not look and that do not have the Caucasian phenotype having power and then utilizing that power over them.
Mm.
That is to them, that's what makes them, afraid at night. Hey, we're never going to go away, right? What do they always say? We'll never be defeated or deleted, or we'll never, whatever they have that
You will not
scares them.
replace us.
Exactly. That replacement, philosophy, and it's really a theology. That is their replacement theology,
The, the,
and
the joke is of it, though, Karis, is that they are the ones that replaced everyone. They
mhm,
don't seem to
yeah.
realize that they did that.
Well, again, they know that they did that, but again, if they look, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, they read the
Well,
Bible. They know where this thing is saying. They
well,
knew what to edit.
what did the prophet say to David? When he told David about a man who had taken the person's last lamb, and David said, that man should die that did that. And the prophet
Mm-hmm.
said, that was you.
Yep.
So so that's human nature. You feared somebody doing the same thing that you did to somebody else.
Somebody else. Yep. Yep. The consequences. It's the natural consequences of those actions. Because why? Because everybody has been looking to see, okay, when's the United States going to fail? How are they going to fail? Look, do you see? I don't know if people saw this or caught this. China was over in, they had the Chinese um, ambassador. So they had their diplomats over in Tehran meeting with some high level officials, and they were basically saying they're. It's kind of funny, as the kids would say it. The Chinese officials are basically glazing Iran. Yeah, they got it. We don't see any reason why the current administration of the Strait of Hormuz is a problem. Do you
Mm.
know what that does? You know what that does?
It emboldens.
Tells them
And
we got your
it
back.
doesn't just yes, it tells the United States, if you mess up this right now, then we're going to be forced to act.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, there was an issue with my there was an issue for a moment. Okay.
So now again, the United States has been checkmated because remember, when Trump was like, oh, if Russia and Iran, if they get into this conflict or excuse me, if Russia and China get into this conflict with Iran, oh, it's going to be some problems. It's going to be big problems. It's big problems for the United States because they don't know how to deal with that. So Iran is a near peer, but imagine a peer-to-peer, and China and Russia have already signed a defense pact.
Well,
They've been they've been signed
they
that.
say you
Yeah,
want a proxy. They say you want a proxy. We'll show you how to proxy. You want a proxy war? We'll show you how to proxy. So
yeah.
the same thing that they were doing low key and like, oh, we're not really involved with Iran. We're just supporting Ukraine, and we're just supporting them. We're not really in there fighting, and we're not really doing that. We're just supplying the freedom fighters over there, and they're turning their same script on U.S.
That's exactly what that is. That and what does that mean? The rest of the world knows I am not going to get involved in this. That's what they're saying. I'm not getting involved in this. I can't get
Hmm.
involved in this. Well, what about that? I can't do it.
I wanted to ask you something, if I may.
Hmm.
Um, everybody in the chat actually. Have you heard about what's going on in the Philippines? An island in the Philippines. I think it's
No.
Sagao. Okay, so those people who come fresh off of the out of the military from doing all the horrible things they've been doing are now on a
Hmm.
tourist, the tourist visa in on this island. It's supposed to be a protected island, and they're starting to colonize that place. And the Filipinos
Mm.
are not happy. They're not happy. Obviously, they've just witnessed another group of people that was colonized by these people go through what they're still going through. Now, obviously, they don't want them there. And I'm not even gonna lie. I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm feeling some kind of way. I'm getting kind of PO'd because I'm like, why don't you just go back to where you came from?
Didn't they
Think
have
that
the
would be
same thing
their mo.
in Malaysia? Didn't they have the
Mm?
same thing in Malaysia where they were trying to or it was like Indonesia somewhere? I think it was Indonesia. They were trying to
Yeah, I think that was
they were trying
Dutch.
to organize. Yeah, they were trying to organize a like this little running club that
Disco
um
Run, I think. The
and
Disco Run.
yeah and then they weren't inviting any of the locals, and they said
No,
this is against the law, and they made them leave. They had to leave. They threw them out before they could
actually, they didn't throw them out. What they were trying to do was have them pull them up for to get them arrested, but they fled the country when they were about to be arrested because they were
yes.
working on on a tourist visa, which obviously is illegal. So they fled. They left.
Hmm. Yeah.
They
Yeah,
did not want to
and,
help.
Well,
that's what they always. And you got to remember, that's everything that they try to do. They always try to, subvert, supplant, all their laws, because when they do that, then they can make a case, with the Danish government. Hey, we're just trying to live here, and let me tell you this. Let me tell you this. That used to get play. that was how they were able to do those soft um invasions. Yeah, those are the soft invasions. Hey, we're just going to do this diplomatically. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to see how much we can get away with. And honestly, you understand that that was the Chinese model in the
Mhm.
late 18th century, and they just totally got overran.
I've
Well,
left a link in the chat for when I was just talking about that nation.
Mm-hmm.
Karis, the ruling class
Mm-hmm.
is you exercising their golden parachute to flee the the crashing plane or the sinking ship, and going to
Mm-hmm.
leave the the overseer class on the sinking ship. But
Mm-hmm.
they made their escape plans, their Operation Paperclip, their rat lines to get to Argentina. They got all their spots around the world of refuge because they see it coming. They're still, exhorting the overseers on, yeah, fight, 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 patriotism, things like that. But they see the way it's going. They already got their escape plan.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
they will soon fast understand that all these curses that were on us will be on them and those that hate and persecute us. Because at the end of the day, we did that, and everywhere we went, the curses followed us, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Not only that, we were kicked out of these
You're
nations.
right.
So this is exactly what's going to happen to them. And I couldn't imagine a group of people that deserve it more.
You know,
They can't outrun his
I
judgment.
had no, they can't. I wanted to bring up this scripture right here because again, so you have Obadiah, but really Obadiah does make it's you have Obadiah, you have Ezra, right? You have this is Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah 49 and 16, and it shows okay, because Esau is still a global figure. Don't get it twisted. Esau works within different nations, and when you start to see, well, how is Esau impacting this? What you have Israel that's captivity. Esau is using other nations to basically, right, provide that captivity. And then you have literally immediately Jeremiah 50 and 51 showing the ending of that captivity. This is what a lot of people kind of overlook. Now, this is Jeremiah 49 and 7, and it states here concerning Edom, thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Doesn't it feel like that right now?
Yeah.
Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. This is why, and I thank the Most High they gave me the scripture. This is why they have to do nothing but circle the waters in the Middle East.
Didn't the Bible say they're going to be vagabonds upon the earth as well? So there's not going to be no place for them to rest their head.
Let me show you this. The moment that they have to return back their forces, flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. The moment that they have to start pulling back their forces, that's the moment that they realize that they're gods, that they're Elohim, that they're God of forces. Jesus wasn't with them on the battleship cruiser. Jesus was not at the steering wheel of the he was not at the helm of the battleship. He wasn't at the steering wheel of the Humvee of the MRAP.
Not the
Did
good
Jesus
ship,
take the
Jesus. He's
wheel?
not anymore. He's not there.
Do you see this? Look, I don't know, but these scriptures become more and more and more powerful. If gra- Let me continue this. Jeremiah 49:9. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. And what have they been doing? They've been destroying. They've been taking not just a little bit, let's keep the rest, or let them have the rest. They're taking everything.
But you know,
This was the play.
when I read that verse, though, Gareth, sorry, um, I
Hmm.
see where it's like the Most High is like saying, "I'm going to utterly destroy you." He's kind of using that as a comparative, like he's saying that if grape gatherers come into thee, would they have not left you something? If thieves
Hmm.
come by night, would they not even just destroy until they've had enough? So they'll only take what they can carry, and then they'll go.
And they go. Yep.
When somebody steals from you, they're not taking everything. They're not taking even down to your bricks and whatnot. The Most High
Hmm.
saying, "I'm going to utterly destroy you from
Hmm.
top the bottom and leave you with nothing." So it's like the Most High saying, You would have been better off if a thief came in unto you, because I'm going to deal with you now." Not some simple nation coming to the Most High is going to allow these nations to destroy, to break them a little bit, but then the Most High is going to do His work. He's going to destroy them. That's when I see that. When I read that, that's what I see when I read that. Sorry,
But
Esau.
hmm this is Jeremiah 49:10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. I think it's funny when they always try to say, well, you know, we're Esau, huh? We weren't trying to hide ourselves. We had no power to hide ourselves. Y'all found us. Y'all took away our heritage, our inheritance, our name, just as the word said, and you tried to hide yourself under our banners, under our flags, under our heritage, our lineage.
What's that song again? Oh, sinner man, where you gonna run to? Talk about Esau. Where you gonna run to on that day?
Mm. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. His brethren and his neighbors. Why? These are the other nations.
Hmm.
The other nations that do what? That try to cover for Esau. The confederation of Esau. This is it. All these other nations that have tried. Well, I stand with this place. Let's stand. Okay. We know who they are. They're being made bare. We've uncovered his secret places. Have you noticed? Since we've uncovered their secret places, since we've told them who they are, do you see how crazy they've gotten?
Most of the time, they opened up their traps and exposed themselves.
So, yes, they did. Yeah.
The joke. We didn't even have to do anything. All we did was report on what they were saying, and we were like, "Are you people
Wow.
really like that?" Like,
Hmm.
so like we don't even have to do anything. It's like the Most High caused them, which is scripture actually, caused them to open their mouth, and they're falling on their own tongue.
Hmm. Absolutely. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and thy widows, oh, excuse me, and let thy widows trust in me. So there may be a remnant. I don't know. I'll let you all interpret that how you want to interpret that. May the Most High give you that understanding. But thus saith Yahuwah, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? No, you're not going to go unpunished. We had to be punished.
Mhm.
Our Elohim is merciful, but he's also fair. Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. What do they always say? Oh, nothing's going to happen to us. I don't know why you all get so mad about this. Can't we just get over it? No. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get away from their punishment.
Do you? I just want to say something quickly. Has anybody seen? Oh, what's the name of this film? What's it? Fahrenheit 147. Well, no, five one.
417
Sorry, 451. Sorry, Fahrenheit four
or
five one.
45 with the new one with Michael B. Jordan.
Yes, I was
Hmm.
watching that the other day, and I was like, they burnt books.
Yeah.
And what what's his face's character Turner said was he basically used the N word and said that these books showed how we did this and we did that, and that is what they want. It's like they don't want us to not go. What they want is for us to be obedient and subservient. They don't mind us having a little of whatever. But as long as we know our place, as long as we're not, how many of them have just said to us, "Oh, just get over it. You're the reason why racism still exists," and blah blah. That's the
Mm.
whoever wrote this really tapped into that mindset.
Into their
This is
psyche.
what they,
Hmm.
yes, this is how they feel. When you saw them getting rid of the books, that was it. That was it. And they have done that throughout all of history.
Well, they
From the
don't
time
get rid
of
of
Alexandria.
let's call it what it is. They don't get rid of books like that per se. They are they jack up the prices of books so the availability of actually reading the history. Remember, I know when I had awakened in about 2016, right? All the
Mm,
information was still on out there. It was still available. You could
it
even
was a
go
good
into the
time.
different libraries, right? In Europe, you can even digitally check out and look at archives and grab some of those archives. Guess what? That doesn't happen anymore.
It was a good time, 2016. It really
Yep.
was. That was when information and truth was just so readily available. We're literally in the time of Amos, where there's a famine, not of bread and water, but of truth. We're
Yep.
in that,
Do
you
you
know.
think that? Do you think that they? You're looking at the Catholic Church and these places. They actually didn't burn all the books. They kept them for them. You know, they did
But
keep the books for them.
hmm because why? Because they still have to know how to manipulate the source of power. And
Yes.
and I would say this: it's one of the sources of power. It's and I tell this to people: it's not to is don't get overly conceited and things of that nature. But yes, you are a source of power. You are. And that goes to our people said, "Oh, well, I could do this." No, you can't. You're a source of power, but your power still is derived. It's still derived uh,
Comes from the
or
Most High.
through Yahusha,
The
Hmm.
right?
the
So
Bible.
humility and the power you know, there's things called, dampeners and things of that nature. So your voltage just doesn't go and run wild, right? Yahusha is a voltage dampener for us because why? Because when we are given that power and authority by the Most High, He gives that to us, but our dampener has to be on so we're able to receive and then not be burnt on out with, the big head disease that
Too
brought our
much. To
people
whom
into
much is
captivity
given.
to begin.
Let me ask: to whom much is given, much is required. The Bible says that the gifts of God are without repentance. So we still are the light of the world, but we have to handle it responsibly, and we had to suffer to get the humility to be able to handle it responsibly and to listen to Him before we lift up our voice, which He has given power.
Can I say something?
E-
It's in
exactly.
regards to somebody saying like laughing or whatever. I don't think many of us we're not laughing because we're enjoying your pain. It's just it's the perfection of scripture, how it comes to pass, and being lied to for so long. It's like when you finally see it, you laugh. You because there's and laughter is the only way that we've been able to cope with a lot of things. That's one of the things that they themselves cannot understand. Like, you guys are always happy. You're always this and you're always that. Because we have to be. You know, there is a certain joy within us that even when we're in the thick of something, we still find some sort of joy in anything. So when I laugh, it's not at the pain of others. I don't particularly look forward to seeing what I know is coming to them. I don't, right? Because the idea of just people suffering, even the worst of them, the suffering that's going to be coming, we're not going to enjoy it. No matter how many of us say, yeah, good, they deserve it. So did we. So did we. And whenever we see those images, including some of them who see those images, it doesn't sit right in our stomach. If you can see people under distress and feel nothing, there's issues with you that only y'all can fix. Because, do
Yeah.
you
We don't.
understand?
We can't do that. The words of these scriptures have been so perverted and taught to us by other people that when we finally get the understanding and finally unlock the encryption key of who the people
Mm,
are, and these scriptures and prophecies leap off the pages, that's the joy. Is
yeah.
that the Most High is loving and He's given justice. Now, the justice judged us, and we had to go through it. Uh, there is redemption from the judge. See, you have a path of escape. You don't have to be sorry about our joy that the truth is finally coming out. You have the pathway through Yahusha to combine with us and rejoice with us and not be
And
on
and
the
and,
side of the judgment of your ancestors.
and brother, what does it say in, is it Proverbs about wisdom laughing in the street? That's us. We are the ones that have the wisdom because the Holy Spirit gave us the wisdom, right? And so we laugh, but it's not a laughter of ha ha ha, you're gonna get your comeuppance. No, it's a laughter like, hallelujah, the Most High. If He says something, He says it. It's going to happen. We look at what we've gone through in the history books, which is probably one of the reasons why they're trying to get rid of history and change it. But we look back at our history and we see that written in the pages of the Bible, right? So we laugh when the Most High says that He's going to do something. Why should we ever doubt that? Because we've literally lived it. We've lived the worst of it. And now we are coming out of the worst, as it says in Jeremiah, that it is a time of Jacob's trouble, but we shall be, we shall come out of it. When they're going in, we're coming out. And
The,
if
the Most
that
High,
isn't the time to
go ahead.
rejoice, I don't know what is. Why are
No,
we being
the
so glum?
No, the Most High said that He would judge us again if we rejoiced at your. He
At
warns
your
us. We are warned not to.
destruction. Yeah.
He said that we
No.
rejoice at you. Hey, it'll come up. No, we're not anxious to bring that back on that. It's just the
Mm-mm.
fact of knowing that our whole history was an object lesson to you, and that's
Mm,
what's written in that Bible. You can see the dumb stuff that we did and learn from
mm,
our mistakes and not have to
Mm-hmm.
endure this whole thing. And we're in fact given at our fall, given a chance to be grafted in with all the rights and privileges. And you seeing our fall, you did the same thing.
You,
Did
yeah.
the same thing. And
you
so
know,
so that's not, we're not rejoicing at your calamity, but really, like I got on the air asked, were we that stupid? We know we were stupid. That don't mean you have to be that stupid. You have a way out. That's through Yahusha.
Minister Rick, you had said something that it's like when they're crouched over as men in birth pangs, like a woman in labor, and one of the things that I look at is that to me is right when reality hit, right. This is when reality hit, because imagine at the end of everything, they realized, man, those were actually the people, and we had those people in captivity.
You know you're just quoting Wisdom of Solomon, verse 5.
Yep.
You know you just quoted
Oh, I
that.
know. Yeah, I know. But now it's starting to get illustrated because I want to finish this. This is Jeremiah 49. Again, this is coming here to verse 13. For I have sworn by myself. This is the Most High. He's saying this. Saith Yahuwah, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all the cities thereof shall be perpetual waste. I have heard a rumor from Yahuwah, an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her, and rise up to the battle. For I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men. Thy terribleness hath deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. What is this? This is Obadiah right there. Thou holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down thence, or from thence, saith Yahuwah. Also, Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. Mm,
Paris, they have an opt out just like Rahab the harlot had. You don't have to. You could get out and ensure the safety of your family by bringing them online with the Most High through Yahusha and aligning with His people.
hmm
So the fact if you get you still have an out if you want to take if your vanity will allow you to take that out, then you have an out of that destruction.
Yep. Yeah. Daryl says they get rights and privileges, but as handmaid and servants. But here's the thing. That's just as workers. Look, it's just as workers. They do the same thing. And I tell people, I'm like, what do you think is going to be so different in the kingdom? Other than the fact that it's like the same thing. Hey, um, by and large, we don't do any of the craziness that the elites do, and that's not going to even happen in the kingdom. So you're going to be working and be respected, and I would say this, and not be afraid that you may be on somebody's plate as part of the menu, literally.
They still get a jubilee year. They get 7 years. 7 years. That was the whole concept. That was biblical. The indentured servant things. You could have somebody enslaved for 6 years. The seventh year, you had to let them go. You had to compensate them so they could go out. They didn't. You had to give them reparations out after that. We didn't have this law, this perpetual generational slavery thing in Torah. That wasn't in there, and so that's it's not going to be on them what was put on us.
Mm. And yeah, this is something that we gotta. I always I do the current events. I want to give the analysis of the current events, but all the current events are it's just the contemporary of the scriptures. And like I had said, these stories are now starting to come out regarding the U.S. troops and everything else. This is from Midas News, so I think this may be the Measless or the Midas report. So, I always try to give a grain of salt, but but all right, I don't think it's populating. But this is why, as we're talking about what's happening there on the water, why we need to be praying for our brothers and sisters on out there for their safety. Now, here's the thing: they are going to return, but that return That's going to be the worst feeling in the world for him. That's going
What
to
did
be the
Trump
worst.
say? What did Trump say about losing years ago? About people that don't, that are, all those soldiers that don't win in a war or whatever. I can't remember something, the exact wording he says, but I mean, he did basically call them losers. I think he called, oh gosh, what's his name? Because he was a POW as well,
Yeah,
you
John
know,
McCain called John
that's it.
McCain a loser because he was a
Yeah.
POW.
This man
Well,
has no
he,
affinity for anybody in the military
well,
at all.
he's a narcissist. He called John McCain a loser in the same war he fled from, lied about, and faked injuries and stuff to go. So the same draft he dodged, somebody who actually went and was a prisoner. So I
I,
mean,
I
he's
I would I would I would say that's just in a more practical and pragmatic setting is this: the moment that he has to even withdraw troops from the Middle East, because they're giving them, like, here's the reality: they want all U.S. troops out of the Middle East, basically up to the Mediterranean, Turkey. That's it. You're look the other side of shoot the Danube, the Dnipro, the Dnieper.
Are
For
they
real,
are they
that's
all in agreement in the Middle East to that, or is that just
well,
the demands of
that's what Iran is stating. But to be quite honest, um, you know that they're negotiating in the background. They can't be amenable to Iran, especially if they have, honestly, let's just call it what it is. They have their CIA elements all embedded.
mm,
So do you think that they're going to say something and then somebody conveniently dies in their sleep?
well, if they can't protect him, the Ghost Scouts don't need him too. They were supposed to be the bodyguard. That was part of the deal. And when they're exposed that you can't protect us, you can't even protect yourself. What do you need us? Why do you need to be here? So they're
And
they're
that's why they're
talking other
bringing in
alliances
China.
with Pakistan and somebody else, making deals with Pakistan and other people. So they,
Hmm
they
and
called that
and
Eastern Mediterranean nation an aircraft carrier. I guess they're going to have to move back to that carrier if it's there at all.
no, they're gonna no, it's gonna be gone. The colony state is gonna be gone because what can they do? The colony state's gonna be gone, and on top of that, they're trying to develop what missiles capable of 12,000 plus kilometers. Guess what that does? That actually targets all of the United States. And like I look, it'll add insult to injury. It'll add. Hey, listen, they'll say, look, we got to get one. You all were able to have yours. We're going to get ours. It's only fair. Look, we
Karis,
got
let
cut
me
on the
ask you this.
face. You're going to get cut on the
Sorry.
face. It's only fair. Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, my understanding was, as I studied it, the problem the first atomic bombs were enormously heavy. Uh, the Fat Boy and they were huge things. It's not that making the bomb is not hard. They have the bomb. You can make an atomic bomb. The thing is to make it small enough that you can do it on the missile. Now, I read
Mhm.
somewhere that the miniaturization technology is the thing that the Russians or the Chinese have given them, which allows you to put it on one of your missiles that can reach that far. So that's the thing. You can make an atomic bomb, but lift it and the delivery system for it is ridiculous if it's in its early stages. But if you're able to miniaturize it and get on a missile, then that's the game changer. Not that you have it, but that you can make one small enough that you can put on a vehicle that can reach wherever you go.
Yeah, well, I think that they obviously do have the opinion. I believe that they do have the capabilities. Now, there's one thing in having capabilities, right? But you have to have obviously a couple of the key words are precision and accuracy, right? Can you get it to the target? can the target will it actually even impact and damage the target? What type of lethal effect are you looking for? I mean, shoot, you could shoot an arrow right at somebody, but if the arrow's like you know has lost its velocity, that all it does is just tap the person, you know, on the body. Well, I felt the arrow, but it didn't do anything. And that's the whole reality here. That the arrow here in this concept is they have to develop the arrow with the amount of the amount of munitions that can then deliver that type of
Well,
impact that they're trying to, I would say, achieve
well,
or attain.
well, Karis,
That
can I
if
ask
the
you this?
arrow can even
Karis, can I
reach
ask
the
you
target.
this? I'm sorry, Karis, can I ask you this?
Hmm.
Maybe they're looking at the nuclear paradox. Israel, the Eastern Mediterranean state, could fire a nuclear missile at them, but their territory is so vast and mountainous it wouldn't really defeat them or the territory. It's not that, it's not the ultimate. That would be the same thing with our country. Our country is this country, US, is so vast and so huge. Uh, a nuclear attack doesn't wipe out the whole country unless you just, it's a huge task, even with nuclear weapons, to defeat a
Well,
country.
well, I would say this, because you have to understand, the reality is they know to beat. So it's always been game planned. People have game plan. How do you beat the United States? Well, I'm not going to say, well, that's easy, because it's not. But I do have to, and I've always said this to people: you don't beat the United States with weapons. And I would say, and I would argue, I said, please don't also try to attack the United States, obviously with us in here. That is not going to be a very good outcome. A lot of casualties would occur, because they would turn their weapons to us. That's how that goes. That's what will end up happening. You can argue
The-
that with me all the day long. I don't care. But
Well, the
that
Most
more
High
than
will restrict
likely
that.
that would happen. Yeah, yeah. He would restrict it, but you got to remember, when the going gets tough, they'll and that's, again, that's part of their psychosis for the most part. And the reality is that, yes, most of our military personnel is along the coast. It is. And what would actually end up happening is this. Um, you don't have to do like naval strikes. You don't have to do like a series of like 15, 50 strike. Those aren't realistic. What actually will end up happening is that first strike would then cause a chaos amongst the military folks. Hey, we look, that war is something that we didn't even ask, and now it's on the territory. You know, Whenever that happens, the natural thing is, well, you got to go after the leadership, change out the leadership, tell everybody, hey, a new leader has been installed, and we can now come to terms. That will happen in my mind. That's the most likely course of action. Hey, are you ready to negotiate? Because we finally changed out the leader. We saw that you were serious. You struck U.S. soil. We're suspending all activities worldwide. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what happens. So when people try to say, "Oh, it's just going to be another retaliation or another, strike," no, it's not, because again, there's a deterioration factor that's here. Oh, well, we're going to have a nuclear doctrine where we're just going to strike and retaliate. Yeah, that all sounds all good on paper, But in the reality, when it does happen, people aren't thinking about that. They're thinking about, man, we got to change this leadership right now, today. That person either cannot be breathing, or they're going to have to be detained, or they're going to have to be hanging up somewhere, on the gallows
Like
with
Mussolini.
everybody. Yeah, like with everybody verifying that. You see what I'm saying? Photos, pictures, social media, and it's not AI, right? We're giving timestamps, all that stuff.
So, Karis, what that means that what the U.S. in fact has tried to do with other countries with this decapitation and things and breaking that empire would actually happen here. This place would balkanize, and these states that have
Yes.
these constitutional things that they can, at a certain debt goes a level, we can get up. It would just split up. The states would split up
It would.
if
It
that
would.
happened.
It would. You would have in my opinion, people try to say that everybody's an expert. Okay, I don't care. Everybody's an expert. Hey, you're an expert. You got it. You bad. You the you the birthday. You know, like, okay, I don't care. I don't care. But the reality is, yes, there would have other states that would say, hey, we're no longer a part of that. Well, that's too late. You started in on that, and just because you want to try to run away, no, you're going to get it too. But the way you get it may be a little different, because at least you laid down arms per se. Do you see what I'm saying? Hey, they conceded. So now you have a structure, or a fracturing of, now, how do we keep the United States together? Do we go to war, or do we go to war externally, or do we go to war internally to keep things together, and then try to have a military response once we're able to subdue the fracturing of these states?
So, civil war, then foreign war.
Well, and again, you would have to, because again, a lot of these states, I would even imagine, like California, Washington, Oregon, and probably Nevada and some other states would say, "Hey, that's not us," because why? Because the border will be an ever present military operation, a military design. Hey, because of existential threats, hey, we have to push in and create a buffer zone, because we don't know how crazy you'll go. So you see, they were listening to all the U.S. craziness, talks, propaganda, all that other stuff. But you also had to remember, Mexico was interested in BRICS. Mexico had an interest in BRICS. I don't think people realize that they did,
Canada's
and the,
pivoting.
and the U.S. was. Yep, and Canada's pivoting China, and they were very mad. They were very mad. Now,
The heart.
um,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
The harlot is being isolated. It comes back to the harlot riding the beast. So would the beast be the whole pre-bricks, the whole system that's pre-bricks that's being manipulated, and the harlot would be this country manipulating it. So the beast, to save itself, would throw off the harlot, or would bricks in fact be part of the beast?
Well, BRICS is actually part of the beast. It's just now, um, the beast is in. They all the other nations are influenced by the beast. If you think about it, they just hadn't necessarily signed up formally to be part of the beast system. Because think about it, what for China, you're not going to get away from China. Remember, the U.S. was trying to do all that. Hey, we're going to do all this in China, and then they ended up actually gaining more business over to China, because China knows how to manufacture, and that's actually what saved a lot of these countries so far, especially with the oil situation, is that China was really utilizing its own supplies, and they're not doing that anymore. China said, "Hey, we're not going to save you anymore. We're going to come back onto this market, and we're going to come back even heavier." That's why the whole Strait of Hormuz thing is so detrimental, especially right now, because again, part of the military, or not, excuse me, not military, but part of the diplomatic response. Let me. Yeah, I'm getting some feedback for you, Minister Rick. There you go. A part of the diplomatic response was to basically, hey, China, don't utilize the oil. Try to, if we can come to an agreement, and China is saying, okay, we'll be amenable because we know that what could happen. We because again, they don't want to collapse the global economy because they're still trying to build their own, alternative financial solution and payment systems. So they also knew what was at stake, and now they're coming back online, and they're coming back online getting the oil because the oil is going to be paid for through more than likely a yuan payment system. Hey, look, we're not going to get the money, and I would probably, contend, I would really contend that again, that was what was stated by Iran to begin with. Well, we're not going to get the money per se. It'll come to us, but it'll go over to China first. The payments will be made in a yuan backed currency system. They literally said that. They said that earlier this year, and the U.S. rejected it. A yuan backed currency, a yuan backed payment system, and the U.S. of course they had to reject that. And now the screws are coming through. Well, those 13 ships that more than likely had left, more than likely they paid Iran to leave. Because there's still nuances that's coming from Iran or from the US. Well, anything that's doing business or that gets oil from Iran. Do you see what I'm saying? That's getting oil from Iran. Well, I get it, but did they pay the Iranian toll?
Well, Karis, let me ask you
You see
this
what I'm
to
saying?
draw. Oh,
Okay,
go
they
ahead,
may.
go ahead.
Yeah.
To draw a picture.
Yeah. So
Uh,
so
the,
again,
the,
go ahead,
I didn't
Mr.
want to
Rick.
interrupt. To draw an illustration, the Swift system and you have the brick system. The Swift system is a
Mm-hmm.
burning building, and the world is in this burning building. And here comes the brick system with the ladder up on the fire engine,
Mm-hmm.
reaching out. But you got to jump. You got to have the courage. When do you jump from the burning building, which is going down, over to the fire truck ladder to try and be rescued by the Swift system? So, but it's scary to do that. You're reticent to make the jump. So maybe much of the world, is not ready to make the jump uh, till that flame gets on them far enough, and then they'll jump to the brick system, and the Swift system will just burn down along with the empire. I don't know. Is that a metaphor?
Well, I mean, it's a good illustration, but let me add on to that illustration. Okay, and this is the illustration that's actually happening right now. The rest of the okay, the building is burning, right? The building is burning, and there are people that are jumping and have made the jump. But the reality is that inside the building are gunmen that are also holding people hostage in the building. Now, people are going to get shot leaving the building. They're going to get pew pew leaving the building. But it's going to be, how do you recover from your injuries? You're going to have an injury no matter what. They're going to be injured no matter what. They weren't coming out of this system unscathed. Matter of fact, they know that when they come out of this system, they're going to be hospitalized for a little bit. They're going to be on life support. They may have a couple of different amputations going on, right? They may have some the quality of life is going to be diminished. They may be wheelchair bound. Do you hear what I'm telling you? But the next generation will be a little bit healthier. Do you get what I'm telling you? The next generation, the next generation. This is a multi-generational healing component because it took generations to get to this process. So yes, even though bricks is an alternative, the grandeur wasn't like what you saw in the 90s, early 2000s, and 2010s. It's not, that period is over with. This is a period of a global shift, the global emergence. This is why Trump fired on Iran, because it was a global shift. Because everybody saw the tactic, it was the same tactic. Wait the United States out. They saw that. Are we going to have a deal? Can we get a deal? Can we do this? Can we do that? No, we're just going to wait you out. And the United States had to respond because, again, we were telling you this place was dying. We were saying that even before Trump had struck. This place is dying. And you see that everybody sees that this place is dying, but you can't leave the room because why? Because you have somebody literally on life support getting their last breath of oxygen because they can't produce no more. They can't produce oxygen like that anymore. They're on their last tank of oxygen because their supply chain is messed up. Their oil is messed up. So that next oxygen change on the back of their wheelchair, that's it. If I'm gonna perish, you're gonna perish with me.
When the hose drops
I
down,
I I, I
put it
pray
on
that you
your
all see the.
put it on your own mouth first before you give it to the other person, so you'll be alive to keep them alive.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. But they ain't trying to. They're not trying to share any more oxygen masks. That's how that goes. they're not. They're taking as many. I need that oxygen for myself. You can't grab any. And again, they had to delve in to really save Europe. And now they're gonna. And again, I believe they're gonna pull back. I don't. Here's the thing. It's going to make the other countries mad because they still relied on the United States. Of course, that's gonna end up happening. But remember, and I'm going to look. And again, I say September is very pivotal. I believe just my truth. Once that's done, then the question is, does when does Europe say, "Hey, we're completely finished with"? Because think about this: people play the fantasy game with you as long as they're getting paid. Think about that. That's all they're doing in the White House. Hey, I'll play the fantasy game as long as my portfolio is looking good, as long as I'm getting paid. They're doing that. When the money runs out, and in Europe's case, when the oil runs out, and then they have to run over to Nigeria and then Northern Africa, and then they're telling them, "Oh, you really need it like that?" And you don't have an army with you, all right, you can have some oil, but you also have to pay for this, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for this. There's this tax, there's an African Union tax, there's it. Europe is going to be going to the cleaners. And then when people can't afford to stay in Europe, who's going to want to stay there? Man, I had to cross the Mediterranean, to come to North Africa because it'll be a reverse migration.
And the exodus might be a payment for some of the price that they're demanding to return to their people. If the Most High has gotten to that point,
I wouldn't say not just might be a payment. I think it is going to be one of the payments to be able to at least have some sort of a stabilization of sorts. Hey, you need to flee. You need to do this. Look, they're not going to have us go with, hey, see you later and waving and saying, oh, I hope you enjoyed your stay. No, get up on out of here. Can I grab my stuff? No. What are they doing? Like with these whole ICE detentions? To me, when they're looking at how do they recoup monies from what the ICE are the folks detained by ICE, the illegal immigrants,
seize
and
their
I'm sure
asset.
Yep, and I'm sure in the language, right? In that language that they published recently, I'm pretty sure that they'll say and all persons, deemed to have lost US citizenship, in other manners or extraordinary factors. Did anybody else take a look at the executive order? Line
Forfeit
by
their
line?
property in the U.S. Forfeit their property in the U.S.
Yeah, it would be a forfeiture or an asset forfeiture. Hey, they got rid of the Negroes and they left. They got and the thing is I say this, look, it's not over, but there's going to be a bridge available before the deal goes down, just in my opinion. But then when the
Well,
deal goes down, then people are going to go through that fire. They're going to go through that circumstance, and then they're going to say, "Oh, I guess they already made a way for us to get up on out of here."
in your
That's what end
opinion,
up happening.
so that's what happened to us out of Spain and Portugal and other
Hmm.
places in Europe that we had to go, and they were taking charges to stay, and then they just took everything. Then
Yep. Yeah, it was a wealth redistribution into the hands of the monarchy, and actually it went into also the hands of the clergy, which then went into the Vatican. At the end of the day, as I had stated it, it's not the U.S. is going to have to pay reparations because what the U.S. will obviously do, they're going to pawn that off. They'll pawn it off to Europe, and then Europe will pawn that off to the Vatican. Everybody's going to be, pointing at everybody else. It's not my fault. It's your fault. It's not. That's when Esau is really laid bare because people didn't think that Esau was actually this Roman system, this Roman based religious structure. That's Esau. All right, final comments because I gotta get up on out of here. Do you know I've been here for 3 hours? I said, man, that's instant 3 hours. Oh, one of those ones
I,
for
okay,
last
uh,
times.
final comment from me. The key to this whole thing is Messiah. We have to have a covenant relationship with the Most High through the Messiah, who we know to be God in human flesh, or doesn't even work for us. That's my final comment.
All right. Thank you, Minister Rick. Appreciate it. Sister Chantel, our UK correspondent, if she's still available, it may be blazing. I'll give her a second to respond. She may be away.
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I was a little busy. Uh, yeah, thank you for having me on. And I don't have anything else to say. I've just been listening, just doing a couple of things I needed to do in the background. But yeah, I pray everybody does well, is well. and keeps well. And that's all I've got to say. So, yeah,
All right.
thank
But
you.
thank you, Sister Chantel. Get go ahead, get yourself something. Get yourself something cool to drink. Get yourself a nice iced tea or a lemonade. Cool down. When it gets too hot that you don't even want to talk. That's what it seems like. Are you outside? Man, it's so hot. I don't even want to say nothing. Man, it's too hot to talk. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Thank you. Thank you, panel. Boy, oh boy. Now it is time to say goodbye. So I'm trying to figure on out how I will be able to structure Covenant Awakenings because of my new work schedule. I'll be getting to school earlier in the morning. So it was pretty nice because school used to start at where I was at 9:30, and I was middle school. This school in this district, school starts at 7:10 in the morning. Seven do a more of an afternoon show. I would say probably like a at least like a 2:30 to to 3:30 or 4 show. So so I'm debating that because I don't know if I could get up and do this at 5:30 in the morning. I think that would be a little overkill, especially since I have to be at work and on my way to work. On my way to work. Unless you want to do the drive, and it's only a little short drive. I'm not very far away from yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is crazy. So that is also what I am debating. If I'm getting up, maybe like a to either 5 to either 6 or like early mornings, um, and we kind of go from there. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that is my new schedule. I'm just throwing that on out there because if you all see me in the afternoon, oh man, you're on in the afternoon. What happened? You know, it's just I'm on in the afternoon, and hey, hallelujah, hallelujah. Could be about 2:45 to about 3:45, 4 o'clock. Daily breakdown with Covenant Awakenings. Here are the stories of this hour. Oh no, I remember when Covenant Awakening used to come on in the mornings. But I mean, but to be honest, it really does help me on out so I can get more things done in the continent because the continent is they work in the mornings. They do. The continent works in the morning. So even getting on up and having these like 30 the 30 minutes just to talk to them to arrange things with them, it it does help. It does help. But yeah, because that's how things are on that. So, but again, I'm also going to put this on out here, family, because again, um, during the times that I'm here, I'm not getting paid for my job. I don't. I actually don't get paid until next week. Next week. So if you are willing, if you want to put if it's on your heart that the Most High sees to it to help on out, I definitely appreciate it. The only time I worked was actually last week, and then again I told you I had to resign. So this is a week that I've been kind of in furlough as I'm transitioning on over to this new opportunity. So I just I'm putting that on out there. But again, I definitely appreciate you all. It's always a blessing to come on in here and just give a little bit of an analysis. It's just unfortunately with the work schedule, because that is one of the earliest times that I've had to work. Being at work and on the grounds by 6:45. By 6:45, that would be to me a little much. Coming through 5:30 in the morning, then that means I have to get up at 4:30, you know, to get things together, get things situated. And I mean, I'll have to see. I'll have to see if people would be, I'll test it on out. I'll see about the afternoons. I'll see about the mornings. We'll take a look. We'll take a look. And again, in everything I do, I just pray about it. Thank you, Father, because whatever you're gonna have me do, it's awesome. Hallelujah. Now, I want to before I get going, I want to address the neo diplomacy. The neo diplomacy. I'm looking at classes around late September, early October. And the reason I'm doing that, there's a couple of different things that I'm trying to get in place over on the continent that will definitely help in providing more value to the class. Now the class is good value, but with the things that I would like to do, things have to align with some of the things going on the so is that is the update um that I'm trying to work through. So I would say, I'll keep you all posted. This week is a pretty busy week, and so will next week. But I want to where I'm developing that, because that will be a venture that would be a partnership with QTUA on that one. So I have to go through there, look at the what the fee would be, because this is a pretty big deal. I've been able to have some pretty good successes, and most times allowed that. And and you're getting a really I would say, in my opinion, a good first rate training, because it's dealing with a lot of the lessons learned that I'm dealing with on a daily basis. So, that right now, and in today's age, I say that is a pretty valuable um, skill, especially we don't know what and how things are going to look like, and being able to have that those necessary, the way that we're able to move and deal and interact. It's good to be on there's different levels to this, and we need more people at these higher levels to have these solid interactions, because again, we don't have those interactions like that necessarily. I would say that necessarily, especially here in the United States. And as I've shown and through a lot of these articles and materials, you know uh things are things are being reduced at the State Department. So you really have, the lack of diplomacy, therefore, is not there. I mean, we really didn't have that much to begin with, right? It wasn't there for us to begin with, but it's now even the U.S. is constraining that, and that's also, when you start to contract, you start to squeeze back and pull back, and that's the very definition of contracting. You're not doing business with other countries, and because you're not doing business with other countries, you're really not interacting with those countries as you once had been. But the caveat, to that, an exception to that, is they want to interact with us. So that's the blessing to be able to be there and be wanted like that. And I know that people may not really, understand that that's that's going on, but it is, and they really do want to have their family back. So this is a time that, in my opinion, that we need to be, very mindful of, how to work and move and interact with our people, especially with the the amount of opportunities that's there. And there's a lot of opportunities, and it's not just for the sake of charity, it's also for the sake of building business, of building wealth, of building value, all of these opportunities that are there. But the reality is we have to go through as in an organized system to then access that type of that those type of resources. So, so that's where the value add is at. We could talk about things, we could do things, but when the deal goes down and it's time to deliver, are we capable of doing that? Are you capable? Am I capable? Right? So these are a lot of the self-inflection points, because my capability isn't on my own, right? My capability is through our people. So I can give you a plan. I can tell you, hey, this is how it's going. I'm working through this plan right now, but at the end of the day, if the plan is supported by the amount of support that I'm able to receive from our people, that's just how that goes. That's just how that goes. But other than that, the Most High is doing tremendous things. He truly is in the background. I have to say that, these periods are always kind of a lull period. People are going back to school. You know, um, families are kind of transitioning, and trying to figure things on out. Towards the end of the summer, and you know, so it's very interesting, to say the least, of how we're the outlook is. But I would always say this, and I'm gonna stick with this. Our outlook is actually pretty amazing, comparatively speaking, because we're in a very interesting time that nobody can tell us anything different. Oh, well, they don't want to do anything with you over in the continent. That's a lie. All their lives are being exposed, and it's pretty awesome to see that, because it's the Most High that's actually opening up the hearts of our people, and doing those things for our people, which is truly amazing. But with that, again, family, thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your support. I will be back on Monday. I just don't know what time I will be on Monday. If I do later on, then obviously I will post that. So I do have the capabilities to post, at least at noon, when I'm coming on, and that's noon Eastern Standard Time. Or if I say, you know what, I think I'll just continue to stick with the early bird specials, and I start at 5:30, then hallelujah, we'll go from there. We'll do that. We can go from there. So that's all I have. And with that, family, may the Most High's peace be on you, and and mercy. We serve an awesome Elohim. We serve an awesome miracle working Elohim. Don't get it twisted. And he loves each and every one of us. He loves us more than we love ourselves. And he sees us and he hears us. And he's moving way beyond anything that we can think or imagine or comprehend. So be assured and take assurance that he is fighting our battles. And this is blessed on you through the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. So take heart. Our deliverance, as Jacoba would say, is drawing nigh. But the Most High's face is truly turned on his people. to do good and not evil. We're becoming the head, and we're getting out of being the tail. So speak life into everything that you do. Speak praise into everything that you do. And you'll see how awesome the Most High answers. And when he does answer, don't be big-headed about it. Have humility. Please have humility. We do not want to repeat what our forefathers went through. Hallelujah. So that's all I got today, family. Again, if you'd like to support this channel, these broadcasts, you can do so $COVAWK1, or you do PayPal or Zelle at karasia@msn.com. That's karasia@msn.com. I definitely appreciate it. And I got to get rolling from here. So with that, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, peace and blessings. Yasharel.